We're going to work on our pancake fold. So what a pancake fold is being in this straddle position. And then the pancake part is me folding forward and actually going as low to the ground as possible. So there are people who can actually go all the way down with their chest to the ground. I'm not quite warmed up. When I'm warmed up, I can go halfway, a little bit lower than this. And when I started, I was here. So I've really learned how to work on this so that I can open myself, open my hips, and try to go deeper into this. And it's still a work in progress for me. But I have quite a few tips. And that also depends on where you're at. If you are very flexible, this is easy for you, then don't even worry about it. But if you're like me a few years ago, where you could barely even sit in this position without running your back, then this is for you. So I'll run you through a very quick little warm-up, and then we'll do a couple more things. So before we even get into things, it's important to understand that in this position, in a straddle position, we want to have the tilt, the anterior tilt of the pelvis going backwards and the chest going forward, right? So usually, you see this in people when they walk, they have their butt sticking out, and then this kind of thing happening, and a little bit of rounding in the back. And then a lot of times the fix for this is to squeeze the glutes, tuck the tailbone under, and pull the ribs in, right? This is a lot of times the fix for this kind of thing. So there's this tilt, the posterior tilt, and then the anterior tilt. And this is what we need to be aware of here. We actually want the one where the hips go back and there's a little bit of, the chest going forward, which is not what you want when you're standing and walking around, but in this specific case is what we want. But what happens is that we end up doing this. So a really good way to kind of figure that out is, one, from standing to understand what the motion is. And then also I find it as helpful to bend your knees, so it gives you a little bit less of a problem here. And then go try to figure that out a little bit, where like you round your back, the pelvis goes forward, and then try to rotate the pelvis backwards, send the chest forward. So it's this idea of finding the tilt, different tilts. Even this might feel a little bit awkward. So if you can find that tilt where you don't round your back, instead you can tilt the pelvis backwards, then this is a good place to start. If you still struggle with this position, then chances are you most of the time need to sit on a block. Because what a block will do is that if you sit on the edge of the block, you will notice right away, like if I'm here, but if I shift my weight forward, the block will actually assist and help to pull back my pelvis and my hips so that my chest goes more forward. So this is where we want to be, as opposed to here, right? So the block automatically does that for us if we sit on the edge of it. If we sit too far back, it's still the same problem, so we kind of need to find that sweet spot, sit on the edge of it for us to find that. So it's always a good idea to find a block like this, a nice and sturdy one, or sit on a little platform to understand what the pelvis is supposed to do as you go in your fold. So we're going to leave this alone for a second. We're going to do another exercise. And depending on where you're at, this could be easy or challenging. We're going to find our straddle, ideally in this forward tilt. If you're tired and you're still here, it's okay for this one. But what we're going to try to do, and I want to bring an awareness into this movement, is I'm going to shift my weight from side to side. So I'm going to shift my weight to my right sitting bone, try to get a little bit lighter under my left, and then shift my weight into the left, get a little bit lighter on the right side. So it's less like, side to side. I mean, it is side to side, but it's really the weight shifting It's subtle. I'm shifting my weight onto my right butt cheek, trying to lift that butt cheek off the floor, and then vice versa. So this just brings a little bit of awareness into what the hips will do. And I want to take this a little bit further. Once I shift my weight to my right side, I'm going to keep my weight there, try to sit as tall as possible, and I'm going to collect my legs inwards into a figure 4 position. So I just pulled my legs in. This one is an external rotation, this one is an internal. And I can just do a little fold forward. And come up. This part is doable if you have a soft surface underneath you. Otherwise, it might be a bit much underneath. So I'm gonna see how it goes for me. So from here, I'm gonna try to roll onto my front shin, lift my hips up, and to come down, I'm gonna hinge from the hips, fold forward as I come down. So I'm gonna try not to crash. So I'm gonna try to avoid hitting down the floor, but try to shift my weight forward, control that on the way down. And then, keeping my weight on this hip, I'm gonna extend, find this extension. And now circle as much as possible forward. Shift your weight to the other side. Bring the legs in. And same thing. First, you can go for a stretch for a few seconds, folding forward. And then as we come up, we're gonna try that thing where we lift all the way up, squeeze the glutes here, shift the hips forward, and then slowly come down. We'll do this one more time. I'll stop talking. You can just follow along. Shifting weight to the other side. Bring the legs inwards. Go up. Down. Straighten the legs. Circle forward here as you go to the other side. Lifting up. And down. Feel free to do that more times if you liked it. The next thing we'll do is go into our pancake position, and let's find our block here if you need it. If you feel like you don't need it and you can be perfectly fine here and have good posture, then do that. Even I like the block a lot of times because it just makes things a lot easier. So we're gonna stand on our block, legs straight in front of us in a straddle position. And I'm gonna again imagine sitting on the edge of that block. It's almost like this thing is moving backwards as if you're like in a checkout counter, and that it's like pulling you backwards that way, but your chest wants to go that way. It's that kind of thing. So we're gonna fold forward any amount and come up. And we're gonna do this for about 6 to 10 reps, where I shift my chest forward, fold forward, come up. 2. Remember, I want to avoid rounding the back as much as possible. Sometimes the block slips. And 8. Nice. Another thing that's really nice here is holding it as we reach. So as we send my chest forward, I'm going to reach forward with my arms, reach forward, reach forward, reach forward. Hold it here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring my hands down for a second. And then reach again. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You can do it another time. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then come down. And you bring yourself up. These last 2 things that we did, the folding forward and the reaching, I I recommend doing it more for more number of sets and reps, because that's really the juice of it. Everything before is a bit of a warm-up. Once you do get a little bit better at this, don't do it from the beginning. You could add a light weight. So if I had like a dumbbell or a kettlebell here, I could fold. As I fold, I can use that to bring myself a little bit lower into the stretch. So show you very quickly. This is a very simple, small weight. Folding forward, coming up. I could even bring it on top of my head. And that's it. Play with those last two, especially the folding and then the reaching.